Hi, I'm Sophie Ellis. I'm one of the parents at the Udny Green School. The school's been running a gardening project ever since my son started here. He's now in primary 6, and we've been growing vegetables and flowers on site and sometimes using the castle gardens. But a few years ago we did have a little bottle greenhouse here, but over the years it became dilapidated. It was just made of plastic bottles. So we decided to raise some funds, and we got some help from the Udny Trust as well, and from Eat on the Green as well. And we raised the funds, and we've built this amazing polytunnel. Well, we're hoping that down the line, and obviously we've just started, we've got a small amount here, but we're still hoping that in the future we'll have more and more produce, and we'll be able to have little markets, like a little small farmers markets that we can run from the school. We can invite the community in. We sometimes do community cafes in the school as well, where we would sell things, or we would do some home bakes as well. I mean, beetroots, for example, are made into chocolate brownies at this school, which are absolutely delicious. So the kids can get involved in making those and selling them just to raise funds for the school, and it's helping the community as well.
So you should plant the seed, then the shoot should come up, and you keep adding soil on, and then a purple flower or white should come up, and then once it dies off, it means the tatty's ready to pick.
And if you see any long ones, then
that's where baby ones grow.
Yes.
When strawberries are ready, they're bright red like my one. And if you ever see a strawberry that's green, never pick it.
Some of them have little courgettes on them, and they're starting to get bigger, and there's still some flowers on them, which will become courgettes as well. And they're getting quite big. Well, apparently you can eat the flowers.
It was a little disc thingy made of compost, and then we mixed it up in water and put a seed in it, and then it became just normal mud. And then when we put the seed in it, after a very long time, a little sprout came out, and then it made leaves. The pumpkins, you might think the pumpkins would be orange, but some of them are blue. And white, and there's little tiny ones as well.
In our polytunnel, we've got chives, rosemary, and oregano and all that. And the chives taste nice because I ate one earlier and tasty. And we've also got coriander. It's nice to put on curries and stuff. So yeah. And there'll hopefully be more herbs growing, and we get to pick them and put them on food, so they'll be tasty. Oh, we're also growing herbs for Udny Green just down there. Well, Eat on the Green just down there, and we're gonna help them get some flavour in his foods and stuff.
The project that is Udny Community Trust is a really wide-ranging project. It's Yvonne MacLeod, and I'm the Development Officer with Udny Community Trust in Pitmedden. It's difficult to pin down one thing, but the overall ethos of the whole thing is that Udny Community Trust exists to help the community of Udny to develop. We're based on the wind turbine. Udny Community Wind Turbine Company is our subsidiary company, and it is our main source of funding. So our founding ethos is based on renewables and the environmental agenda. But what it also allows us to do is support other groups who have the same overall goals in mind. Whatever we do here is led by the community. Sometimes it's just a random off-the-cuff remark that'll lead to a really interesting project, such as our potatoes. We have a volunteer who comes along regularly, Wally, who's a very good gardener. So we just randomly said to him one day, wouldn't it be a good idea if you grew some vegetables in the garden? So he did. And that's one of the projects that's really taken off and caught people's imagination. It gets a lot of attention and it brings a lot of joy to folk as they come past and see what he's doing. One of the things that we have recently put in is this cycle shelter, which we managed to get through a project with Cycle UK. We have a cycle shelter, we have secure, safe storage for your bike if you want to park and go for a wander, or if you want to come in and use our community cafe, there's somewhere to keep your bike. Also, we have a cycle maintenance stand and a bike pump. Puncture, sort your bike out and on your way without it being a big disaster. One of the main things that we've been surprised about, the facility that we've got here is starting to be used by people who need a space to be warm and to meet friends, and just as a focus point for people to come and meet. We opened the room that we call the Quarry Room. It's a big multi-use community space at the end of October last year, and then fairly quickly were hit by Storm Arwen, and we strangely did not lose our power, despite the fact that almost half the village lost their power for over a week, and surrounding areas were out of power, some of them for 10 days. So we were able to open our doors and just offer a warm, safe place for people to come and spend a bit of time in really difficult circumstances, and it was really nice to be able to do that. Other things that we do are mainly now based around our new building, which we bought at the start of 2020, just before the pandemic, and since then we've been developing it slowly over time, mostly using volunteer labour and local tradespeople. We're almost finished developing it, but I think it might be one of those jobs that goes on indefinitely. As new ideas and new people come along and have their own thoughts about how it should develop. We have accommodation for groups who want to come and use the space for their own ideas. We have a partnership with the local first responders. We have partnerships with mental health charities, Aberdeenshire Council, the Grampian Health and Wellbeing Partnerships. Various different organisations are starting to use our space. So if you would like to use the space, come and see us and we would be happy to talk.
Hello, my name's Teresa Dufficy and welcome to St Fittick's Edible Garden here in sunny Torry. The general feel is there's a growing awareness with Torry folk that the impact of the climate, and an understanding that especially the older ones who can remember how important it used to be to grow your own stuff. And what's really interesting is the ages connecting, and the young folk that have come up and shared things with the older folk, and that's been really good because some of the older ones aren't fit to do all the digging, and they're saying, oh, this is how this grows, etc. We've had workshops, activities for the kids, we've had things to do with bees and wildlife and pollinators, and the children love that, they just love it. We've had quite a few arts and crafts things, so it is quite basic, it's down to earth, there's a lot of work still needing done, but I think we're beyond the foothold stage, we're getting there. But we're hoping more and more people are beginning to say, it's happening. You know, it's a bit like that film, was it Field of Dreams? Build it and they shall come.
My name is Ainhoa. The Secret Garden Society is a society affiliated with the University of Aberdeen, which is in charge of taking care of this community garden on campus, in which we grow our crops sustainably. We don't use fertilizers, we don't use herbicides or pesticides, and we do everything organically. We also try to implement the permaculture principles, so no dig and no till. And we also try to promote sustainability in a way that we also organize upcycling workshops, so we reuse wood to make raised beds, and we also reuse toilet paper rolls, for example, to sow seeds indoors. And we also have a scheme in which we bring our food waste to the garden and we use it to create compost to use in the garden. In the garden we do lots of different activities, and not all of them is growing food. We also do other activities such as like picnics or gatherings, just to get the community closer together.
So my name is Ellie. Everyone here is very positive and very helpful. You don't have to know about gardening, you're going to learn about gardening. They're going to show you, they're going to stick with you. You can do simple stuff, you can do complicated stuff, you can go at your own pace, you can keep learning.
It is bigger than just coming and having a good time, because I think everyone who comes here, by coming here, they're kind of making a statement and saying that they care.
One amazing thing about places like community gardens that I feel the Secret Garden does quite offer is a place for networking. So many students come around here, and non-students, and through this you get to meet so many people with different backgrounds and learn so much.
Everyone is welcome. This is not only for students. We are aiming to get more people involved, children, families, people with disabilities. Everyone is welcome, and we have things for everyone. So whoever wants to come, this is also an open space, so even if we don't have a gardening session at that time, anyone can come and just enjoy nature.
I'm Kate Redpath, currently a Development Officer with the Marr Area Partnership. The community garden started here in Tarland in 2013. The idea was that a housing estate would be built on the field, and part of the housing estate would be set aside for allotments for the smaller properties on the estate that wouldn't have gardens attached to the property. We came up with this idea that it would benefit more people if we could do a different kind of scheme. So what we have here is basically a mini allotment scheme where people can rent raised beds, either in the polytunnel, outside, or both. We have a lot of people in the garden who are beginners, and then other people who've been gardening for their whole lives. And the knowledge transfer is just a delight to see.
My name is Ana Peña del Valle, and I am the current trustee in charge for the community garden. So the community garden has opened an opportunity for people to improve their knowledge and skills for growing food all the year round. So skills, knowledge, and also the protection that the polytunnel provides is increasing the adaptive capacity of people to current climate change.
My name is Paul Middlemiss. I eat chard and I eat my curly kale pretty much every day. So I consider myself both healthy and exceptionally blessed.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Knowles. I'm the Director of Stock-Free Farming. Stock-free farming basically means farming without livestock, without farmed animals. It's a no-brainer for us. So I think if we're serious about being climate change activists, if we're serious about mitigating climate change, we have no reason not to move away from animal products entirely. We are at Robert and Michelle Sullivan's farm called The Artisan Grower. They're featured on our website, so the reason we feature them is to show other farmers and crofters that it is possible to grow healthy, nutritious food without any animal inputs and without using harmful agrochemicals.
So my name is Robert Sullivan. As a couple, that's myself and my wife, Michelle. We have had no farming experience, no growing experience. Our backgrounds are not in that at all. We decided to move up to Scotland, and we have a growing family, and we just wanted to have a quieter pace of life. Since moving up, we had to look into new occupations, and that's how we were led to agriculture. We were reading a little book, it was called Country Living, and it was painting this picturesque view of kids running in the fields, and the husband getting his hands dirty in the mud, in the soil, and growing. And we just fell in love with that idea. Having said that, there's been lots of research, because obviously we had to start everything from scratch, so we had to get lots of books, lots of YouTube videos, just speaking to different farmers. But the more we looked at organic, we thought, well, why can't we go a step further? Because within organic growing, they do use animal inputs, and I didn't fancy the idea. For a lot of the times when it comes to the fertilization and other things, everything's based on, you know, on your NPK ratings. And so I started looking at other inputs that you could use that were natural, that could give you the same, if not more. We're on 10 acres of land. We haven't yet even reached an acre yet. And at the moment now, we're providing quite a lot of harvest every single week. Well, literally a van full of, I'll call it veg. Our produce goes out to clients every single week. Actually, 2 vanfuls.
So at Stock Free Farming, we help farmers come up with transition plans and help them find the funding to put these plans into action. And we offer broadly sort of 3 roads to stock free farming. And the 3 roads are, firstly, growing crops for human consumption if you've got the kind of land that can support that. And not all Scottish farmers do. For example, 86% of Scottish farmland is classed as less favoured areas. And in these areas, it's very hard, challenging, if not impossible, to grow food. So the second option that we offer is being paid actually to farm carbon capture by helping the native ecosystem to restore, because we know many of these permanent pastures and rough grazing areas were once temperate rainforest and peat bog. So that's the second option. Firstly, growing crops for human consumption, being paid to farm carbon capture by helping native ecosystems to restore. And the third one is diversifying into non-traditional agricultural initiatives, which could be to do with tourism, renewable energy, retail. So we're here at Balnamoon where Jasmine is doing all 3 of these roads to stock free farming, just in the old crofting tradition of doing a little bit of everything to make a living.
I think the thing at the moment is it's very poignant because food resources in general are becoming really expensive, and they're just going to get more and more expensive as well. I've just got a bit of space to do it, and I'm not saying you need a big space to do these things necessarily. I think if people were to work together at the likes of Balnamoon Croft and create a community of growers, then the cost of things would become next to nothing. And the thing is as well, you can make your own compost, you can make everything, as long as, you know, it's just a little bit of not necessarily all that hard work, especially if it's a small space and you're sharing the effort, you know, to do it as well. Then it is achievable to eat British plants for a year, because it's just forward planning, thinking about things differently, you know. It's not an instant fix with food necessarily, but you can plan it, you learn how to do it, you fall into it the more you do it, you know. It's almost like you need a disaster for these things to happen, you know, to bring these things to light, you know.
So one interesting project that we're doing with Jasmine is leaf food production. So what that is, it's about making high quality protein for human consumption from grass and clover. LEAFU stands for leaf protein concentrate, and it's a method to extract the protein from these leaves to make the substance that can then be used in veggie burgers, stews, soups, loaves, to really give it a protein boost. So everybody's heard of tofu, made from soybeans. This is LEAFU, made from any kind of edible leaves. Actually, this happens to be from white clover and grass, but we could also, I've also made it from nettles. So we have to add about a pint of water to about 750 grams of white clover. There might be grass in there, but that's okay because humans can eat grass. So this fibrous residue, we don't throw it away because it has an NPK composition very similar to farmyard manure. So it's great fertilizer for your plants on your garden. So we want to save that. All right, now we need to heat it till it comes to the boil. has a protein content of about 50% compared to beef steak, which comes in at around 31%, loaded with iron and beta-carotene, highly nutritious. You can use it in stews, soups, casseroles, loaves, burgers. I've just used it. You'll see how it comes out. It's like sort of like a paste kind of thing, consistency. So this will be the fresh leafu, then you can dry it in the oven for 2 hours at about 80 degrees. And then you've got the dried leafu, which keeps for a very long time. You can keep it by your stove and chuck it in soups and stews to add. This is a very dense, concentrated mass of that is pure protein from plants. This one is fava beans and some nettle leafu, breadcrumbs, a little bit of seasoning, and baked it in the oven.
Good morning, and my name is Beatrice Charnley, and welcome to the Belfield Rose Garden in Banchory. So this is the Belfield Rose Garden, and it used to be part of this big building behind us, the Belfield home. First of all, it's a nice place to come and sit and catch your breath. You can look to nature. There's a lot of wildlife. We've got birds and butterflies and bumblebees. We grow food to harvest. It's about also time, planting a seed, using your body. I support people with mental health issues, and I think for me, my way of looking at it and addressing it has been, how can I get people to reinvest into their body? So it's through making, it's through crafting, through using your hands and your senses, right from planting to brushing your hands again, the mint, and smelling, making minty, and harvesting, so we can cook a meal, come and sit down and have a nice conversation. So it's a social connection. It's a reinvestment into your senses. It's making people alive. Come and see, open your eyes, open your ears, just have a listen, sit down. How beautiful, the space can be. This is a little snapshot of what can happen when one takes a space that is and was unloved to care and nurture, and then produce something where it feeds your soul, more or less, as well as your tummy. And if anything, I'd like more of it. I think we should all be looking after spaces that are unloved and put something that we can harvest from those spaces and gather together more and celebrate.